romantic stories for Valentine's Day. Groundbreaking. Of course, we're not gonna do that. Hello, welcome back to my channel. It's Valentine's Day soon. At least this week, everywhere is full of love vibe. And the cynic in me thought it would be a great idea to do a video about books I have read after breakups. I know, I find it hilarious too. Both the idea and my love life included. But rest assured, today we are not exposing anyone's privacy here. Today we are merely talking about 3 books that I came across with after the end of a relationship, which I thought both the books and the relationships changed me deeply. First off, I'm really speechless. Considering this is my channel, I should have plenty to say regarding any topic I want to make a video about. But today, or recently, I should say, I'm sunk in deep doubt about the idea of finding love, romantic love. It takes a little bit courage to say, but I doubt that I will ever have something like this. Maybe I don't have it in me, the qualities one must have to find love. I am very pessimistic today because you could say early midlife crisis, or recovering from a bad cold, or just going through a phase, I guess. I don't know which one is worse. The idea of dying alone, or the thought that I have found love and there's absolutely nothing magical or amazing about it. Both thoughts sometimes make me extremely angry at myself. Really, is the one really exist, and can I maybe meet him one day? Did I blow my chance by being me? I don't know. Maybe it's just a bad idea of making books about breakups on Valentine's Day. I don't know, but I love the 3 books we are talking about today. On some level, they all reflected my thoughts regarding relationships from different perspectives. And as usual, we will start with a fiction, followed by 2 non-fictions. First off, the fiction. I was talking with a few friends about what books I should do in this video. A few of them asked me, what the f does the science fiction have anything to do with a breakup or love? Yes, on the first glance, it seems irrelevant, but to me personally, this book reflected a state of mind I used to have. So the book's name is Solaris by Polish author Stanisław Lem. If you have watched the movie made by Soviet director Tarkovsky, or if you are a sci-fi fan, you might have already read or heard about this book. It was ranked as one of the most important science fiction in history, with a philosophical meaning towards life. If you have never heard about this book, Solaris is a planet far, far away from Earth, which is covered with an ocean of gel material. Scientists conjecture that the planet, this ocean, is a living being, and we keep sending scientists to try to communicate with it. The main character is a psychologist named Chris. He is sent to investigate the ocean. During his stay, Chris encountered mysterious phenomena along with his fellow colleagues. He saw someone that couldn't have been there in his room, let alone in another planet. It was his late wife, Harry. She committed suicide years ago, and it is later discovered that yes, Solaris is a living being. It can get into your mind and show you the person you wanted to see the most, the one thing that your soul craved. The story unfolds as Chris met his dead wife again. First off, I'm gonna say a superficial or even uneducated comment. This is a incredibly sad book. I have never cried reading science fiction until this book. I cried during reading it, and I cried again during writing a script for this video. An ocean that can bring people you lost back to you. This is a romantic yet tragic setup to me. During the time I was reading this book, I saw a photo on Instagram, and it was my phone screen wallpaper for a long time. Because this photo reminded me of the book. And whoever took this photo, I'm giving credit to you, because when I was reading it, I was hoping that such an ocean does exist in real life, so I can go in it and it will give me the person I have lost back to me. It was the idea that got me through the book. The idea of losing someone and getting them back is so powerful that it has an enduring appeal to me. Saying goodbye was the hardest part of being alive as a human being, I think. And I think this book provides a unique angle to have a discussion with oneself. What is true and what is false? How do we communicate with each other? The absurdity of life. If someone you love and lost showing up in your room again, will you go hug him or her, knowing it's all in your mind? It's all hallucination. You can see how this shocking movement unfold as Chris, the protagonist, found his dead wife again. He hugged her all night. They spent the night together, but he knows that she is not real. She is just in his mind. Just like when you ask yourself if what you were feeling was real. If it was real, then why there was no one beside you? Why you were alone by yourself? If it wasn't real and your experience of being loved and lost someone was merely all in your imagination, why do you still feel the pain? Why the pain feels so real? On this level, I think this book is a reflection of what I was going through in life. The book reminded me of someone I have lost again and again, and seeing Chris facing his fear, his regrets, his love towards Harry, it was like witnessing myself seeing the person I have loved and lost again. And it was a process that made me understand losing and encountering with myself, with my deep thoughts about who I am and the people I've, why did I choose what I choose, and how did a breakup affected me. The book was a reflection to me on this level. Every time I thought about this book, I thought about that phase in my life and the sea that it was only in the book and in my imagination. It was like Hogwarts, a destination that you know exists, even though it only exists in one world. Here you have to open the page to find them. It's a comfort knowing that in the world of literature there is an ocean in another planet waiting for you. You can just go there and swim in it and let it swallow you, because at that time you are going to see the one you have lost. The ocean is gonna send them back to you. That being said, I believe Solaris is considered one of the best science fictions of all time for some other reasons. We always imagine the extraterrestrial in human-like forms, or maybe in animal-like forms. But Solaris, however, gave a philosophical, or I should say metaphysical, expression of life and death and human consciousness. Yes, it was a living thing, but it's an ocean. How do you make of that? It is far beyond a story of love, I think, from that perspective. I think it's the most intriguing part of the book to any reader who is not going through a breakup but still want to read it. It speaks to a broader audience, and it actually fits a Chinese slang. Despite I looked it up, it's a Chinese slang quoting Hamlet, but there's no English translation of this quote. It's saying that to 1,000 readers, there are 1,000 versions of Hamlet. And to me, Solaris is the perfect book as a starting point towards science fiction, philosophy, or even just reading in general, because it's a beautifully constructed story. Even if you were not going through a breakup or losing someone, you just want to have a good go with a science fiction, you should have read it. The next book we have today, I think it's a perfect balance, and you can say a continuance of what we just talked about, Losing Love. This is also a very well-known book, The Year of Magical Thinking by Joan Didion. If you are a Didion fan, or if you like readings like Rory Gilmore, you must have read it or at least heard about it. The book is a memoir about Didion's year following the death of her husband John. So grieving is the key word here. Didion wrote in her usual surgically precise way about her memory of her husband, her family, and the emotional roller coaster that she had been through. Because when her husband died in an accident, her daughter was also hospitalized, and later she lost her as well. And you can see how she processed this tragedy gradually, and I'm not going to say recover. I don't think one can truly recover from an accident like this, but you can see how she dealt with her life and all the emotions that she had. I won't call it a book about romantic love, because all I read through the pages, all I could see, was the hard and cold truth about death. I remember one detail from the book, that Didion went back home from hospital where the doctor already pronounced her husband dead. She entered the house and she saw his shoes on the hallway. She wrote in the book that she didn't know what to do with them. She can't throw them away because when he came back in some ways, as she believed he eventually would, John would need his shoes. She wrote that grief was like waves of ocean. It would hit you again and again. I don't know if you have been through something similar to my experience. I bought this book before I knew there was a breakup that's about to happen. I mean, I can sort of tell on some psychological level that something was wrong, but I didn't believe it would actually happen. And it didn't fully come back to me until I opened this book, that I was going through my own personal grieving as well. The death of a relationship, along with a small piece of myself. I don't know why, but it in fact made me less sad reading this book. It helped because I have learned so much about myself and human emotions and the feelings that I had. It was an observation of how we as human beings react to such a heavy topic, because we're talking about death here. How losing a loved one fundamentally changed us. How we live, how we think. Curiously, I cried a few times reading Solaris, but I didn't cry one time reading The Year of Magical Thinking. I think it's partly because Didion described everything in her usual calm and quiet way, that her calmness affected me as well. She laid it all out and told you that, you know what, I have been here, you would have, or you have been as well. We will all be there. So there's absolutely nothing to be so dramatic about. I think the beauty of this book is not only she writes in such a poetic way, she showed me that, it's a process, it's a painful, excruciating process, but everyone will eventually go through that. This is also the first Didion that I have read. I was swayed by how beautifully she wrote the detachment of one's feelings. Her memory was intertwined with her emotions about her husband and her family, and they were pointing towards one destination, death, and that one day we will all be there. It's a quiet book. Usually I like to listen to classical music when I'm reading, either Rachmaninoff or Bruckner, but this is a book that you should read in silence, because you were not just spending time with yourself and Didion, you were spending time with death. And death comes in such a quiet manner, I would say. And the last book of this bizarre video, if you made it here and didn't think I was being crazy, I hope you got amused by what comes next, and I'm truly grateful for you watching, because this book is the most controversial one among today's 3 books. The State of Affairs, Rethinking Infidelity by Belgian-American, I think she is, psychotherapist Esther Perel. If you have watched her famous TED Talk, or you listen to her podcast, Where Should We Begin, or you just see her videos on Instagram or YouTube, you must have known about this book. As the name suggested, The State of Affair is an in-depth analysis of people's stories about infidelity. If you have been cheated on, or you have cheated on someone, or your life has been impacted hugely by an infidelity, this book will change your view about relationships. I didn't believe that before I picked it up. I do now. Because years ago, I was a person, I'm not sure naive is the correct word, but I'm going to use it here. Years ago, I was a naive person who only firmly believed in black and white. I still do now. I know there are things you just absolutely cannot do and it's absolutely wrong. But now I have learned from this book to ask, okay, there's black and there's white. Where is all the gray? Perel documented some of her cases or people that she encountered with, using different names, of course, in this book, and formed a analysis and discussion about infidelity. She asked so many sharp questions about people's mind behind cheating, and I guess what she was trying to pinpoint was the real reason, psychological reason, behind people's choices of love. Why did you cheat? How did an infidelity shape you? What do you feel about yourself when you were with someone who was not your legal spouse? Perel, you can say on this matter, she was a little bit like Didion that we just talked about. They lay out everything plain and clear. She made me view my own relationships from a completely different angle. I was not thinking about why did she do that? Why did I do that? I was thinking about what I was feeling when I did that. How it made he feel when he did that. Why did I choose what I chose? What did they make me feel about myself? What did I learn more about myself from this matter? What does it all say about them? What does it say about me? During the reading of this book, I kept asking myself these questions. Some of them cannot be answered, even till today. I don't think one can truly understand oneself, but it made you look through various length and depth of infidelity. Perel wrote in a novel and easy to read way. You can even say witty. She has a special tone that is very sharp but very gentle. She won't make you feel like she was attacking you. She will make you feel like she was guiding you into a very complicated matter. If you don't have time to read his book, you can simply watch her TED Talk. The reason I like this book is because I think infidelity remains such a taboo topic that a lot of people were impacted by it, but few were discussing it. And that's what makes this book meaningful as a starting point for a series of difficult discussion to oneself or to one's partner. And she provided a practical way to view the incidents in love as a chance to learn more about ourselves. And more on this matter, if you are interested in this topic, I have also read Helen Fisher's work about the love map, how your brain works when facing love. She has a theory that everyone has a love map, that our childhood and upbringing decided what elements or basic qualities we love and looking for in a romantic partner. She also gave great videos about love and brain chemistry for Wired. I am a huge fan, and she talks in such a literature way. It's charming for a neurologist to quote Shakespeare or to guide you about how scientifically proven methods to recover from a breakup. She felt like a warm and interesting and special person to hang out with, just like Esther. Unfortunately, she died recently, but I still remember a quote she gave about a breakup. And I want to end this video with the quote. So Helen Fisher was going through a breakup. She was lying on Central Park, and she wrote to her friends in an email saying, "When I lie and look at the sky and run my fingers through the grass, I can almost feel all the love affairs that have been lost over the last 4 million years. So many tears." And that's all for today's video. Happy Valentine's Day to everyone. Even though we just talked about the dead bodies of love, I'm sorry if I hope the video is not a vibe killer. If love is in the air, I hope we all get to breathe it in. See you next time.